Hey, I'm glad you're here. Whatever the day was, whatever you're carrying into this night, you made it. And this hour is yours now. I believe God meets us in the quiet, in the moments when we finally stop moving long enough to be still. This is one of those moments. Tonight we're spending time in the Word of God, so get comfortable. Put the phone face down if you can. Let the day go, and when you're ready, close your eyes. Let your eyes close. Softly, without effort, before anything is said tonight, before the passage is read, before a single word of explanation or illumination or meditation. I want you to feel something. Feel the weight, the specific, physical, completely real weight of a body that has carried a day. Feel it in your shoulders. The accumulated tension of hours of maintaining, managing, responding. Feel it in your back. The long holding of the upright posture that the world requires. Feel it in your legs. The going and the returning and the standing and the sitting and the standing again. Feel it in your face. The expression that has been held all day, the performance of fine that fine requires. Feel the weight, not to intensify it, to acknowledge it, because the invitation that is coming tonight, the most direct and the most personal invitation in the entire New Testament, was spoken to people who felt exactly this, to people who were not metaphorically weary, who were specifically bodily, completely tired in the way you are tired right now. He spoke to the weight, not around it, not above it, to it. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. He said, I will give you rest. Not, I will explain to you why rest is possible. Not, I will help you find rest. I will give you rest. The giving is His. The receiving is yours. And the receiving begins right now, in this lying down, in this closing of the eyes, in this first small setting down of the day's weight. Take a slow breath in. Feel it travel all the way down, filling your chest, your belly, your sides, and then release it all the way out. That is the beginning of receiving. The exhale is the first setting down, not forced, simply released. The way a burden is released when someone else has taken hold of it. Again, breathe in, long and unhurried. Let your ribs expand, let your belly rise, and breathe out all the way, slowly, until the breath is completely gone. And then rest in the small, still space at the end, the space where the burden has been handed over, and the hands are empty, and the weight is not yours to hold right now. Good. Bring your attention gently to your face, the forehead, and as you breathe out, let it smooth. Let the day's expression go. The performing face, the managing face, the face that said fine when it was not entirely fine, and capable when it was not entirely certain. Let it release. Let the face become the face of someone who has just heard, I see you. I know what today cost. Come to me. Your jaw now. Let it fall open, just slightly. Let your tongue rest at the floor of your mouth. Breathe in and out, and feel how differently the face holds itself when the invitation has been received. Not the face of someone trying, the face of someone arriving. Your shoulders, let them drop. The Word of God does something specific to the shoulders of the person who receives it. It does not make the circumstances lighter. It makes the carrying different. It redistributes the weight, not removing it, but changing how it is held, because the holding is no longer done alone. Let your shoulders fall. You are not holding it alone tonight. A slow breath in and out. Your chest is soft. Your belly rises and falls without instruction. Your back releases into the surface beneath you, your hips, your legs, your thighs heavy and warm and still, your knees softening, your calves and ankles and feet and the tips of your toes, all the way down, all the way out, until your whole body is warm and heavy and has arrived at the feet of the one who said, "Come." You are here. He is here. The rest is being given. Let the word begin its work. Before he said it, he made them, yokes. In the carpenter's workshop in Nazareth, the low-ceilinged room that smelled of olive wood and sawdust, and the particular dry warmth of a space where work is always happening, he made yokes, not occasionally. As part of the daily trade of a craftsman in a working village in 1st century Galilee, yokes for oxen, yokes for donkeys, the wooden frames that went across the necks of animals and connected them to the work they were being asked to do. He knew what made a yoke good, not from theory, from the wood itself, from the grain, the direction the grain ran, which determined how the wood would respond to stress, from the fit, the specific shaping of the inner surface to match the specific curve of the animal's neck, so the weight distributed across the widest possible area rather than concentrating at a single point. From the finish, the smoothness of the surface that prevented chafing, that allowed the animal to work for hours without the yoke becoming the thing that destroyed it. He knew the difference between a yoke that fit and a yoke that did not. A yoke that did not fit wore the animal down, concentrated the load, created pressure points that became sores, that became the reason the animal could not work at all. A bad yoke did not make the work easier. It made the animal less capable of doing the work over time. A yoke that fit was something else entirely. It allowed the full strength of the animal to be applied to the task. It distributed the weight so evenly that the animal barely felt the yoke as a separate thing. It became part of the movement, part of the working. Not an addition to the burden, but a tool for carrying it better. You are in the workshop. The morning light is coming through the small high window. The sawdust is in the air. The young man at the bench, before any of the ministry, before the Jordan River, before the sermon on the hillside, before any of it, is planning the inner surface of a yoke, slowly, feeling the wood beneath his hands, checking the curve against the template, feeling for the place where the surface is not yet smooth enough. He knows something that the person who will later receive the invitation does not yet know. He knows from 30 years of making things that the burden is not the problem. The yoke is the problem. The thing that determines whether the burden destroys you or can be carried is not the weight of the burden, but the quality of the yoke. The thing that connects you to the load, the thing that distributes the weight, the thing that either fits your specific nature or does not. My yoke is easy. Not. The burden is small. The yoke is easy. The yoke he offers, the one he designed specifically from the inside of human nature, having lived in a human body, having carried human weariness, having felt the specific weight that being a person in the world produces, fits. It was made for you, not for people in general, for you. The specific curve of your neck, the specific nature of what you carry, the specific way that your particular life distributes its weight. He made the yoke knowing all of this, and the yoke fits. This is what the Word of God does in a life that receives it. It does not remove the load, it changes the yoke. It replaces the ill-fitting thing, the self-made yoke of performance and striving, and the relentless trying to be sufficient, with the one that was made for you, the one that fits, the one that allows your full strength to be applied to what you are actually called to carry, rather than being consumed by the chafing of a yoke that was never designed for you. He made it in a workshop in Nazareth for 30 years, for you. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Hear it again. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. 5 kinds of weary, 5 different ways of being burdened, 5 specific, human, completely ordinary forms of tired. The same invitation into every one of them, the same word doing its work in every one. Let it do its work in yours. The first kind of weary is the simplest, the tiredness of a body that has worked. Not the tiredness of laziness or depression, or the grey flat exhaustion that comes from not having done anything. The tiredness of someone who showed up and kept showing up, and gave what was required, and then gave a little more. The specific, honest, completely honorable tiredness of a person who worked today. Maybe the work was physical, the body literally tired, the muscles carrying the evidence of the day's exertion. Maybe the work was mental, the concentration sustained across hours of problem solving, of navigating complexity, of making decisions that mattered. Maybe the work was relational, the emotional labor of being present for people who needed you, of managing the feelings of others, of holding things together in rooms where things wanted to fall apart. All of it is work. All of it costs. All of it produces the specific tiredness of someone who has spent themselves for something. Come to me, all you who are weary. Not, come to me once you have rested enough to come properly. Not, come to me when you have something left to offer. Come to me weary. Come to me exactly as the work has left you. The weariness is not the disqualification. It is the qualification. It is the precise condition he was addressing. The people he called to himself were the spent ones, the given out ones, the ones who had nothing left. This is what the Word of God does for the person weary from work. It changes the meaning of the tiredness that was simply depletion, the running down of a resource that will need to be rebuilt before tomorrow's work, becomes something else in the light of the invitation It becomes the evidence of faithfulness, the proof that you were present, that you gave, that the day was not wasted. The weariness is not the problem. It is the record of the work done. And the rest that is given, the I will give you rest, is not just sleep. It is the restoration of a person who has been faithful, the refilling of a vessel that was emptied in service, the body receiving not just the physical rest it requires, but the deeper rest of knowing that the one who saw the work values the worker. You are weary from work tonight. Come. The rest is given. The body is receiving it. Right on now. Feel it in your shoulders. The weight releasing. Not because the work is done. Tomorrow has work too. Because the one who gives rest has taken the weight for tonight. And the body that was spent is being restored. Not by your effort, by his giving. The word does this. In the life that returns to it, that lies down with it, that brings the tiredness of the day to the one who said, come. The person who does this regularly, who makes the returning a practice, who brings the week's work to the rest that the word offers, finds over time that the restoration is real, that the body wakes differently, that the capacity for the next day's work is genuinely greater because the rest was genuinely given, not because sleep improved, because the burden was genuinely set down with someone who holds it through the night. Come to me, the weary from work. I will give you rest. The second kind of weary is heavier, the weariness of someone carrying a loss, not the acute grief of the immediate, though that too, the grief that has been present long enough to have become part of the daily weight, the loss that was suffered months ago or years ago, and that has not resolved into the acceptance that people said would come, the absence that is still absence, the person or the future or the version of yourself that is not coming back, and the tiredness of carrying that not coming back every single day. Grief is one of the heaviest loads the human body carries, not because it is always dramatic. Often it is not. Often it is the quiet, persistent weight of the thing that is simply gone. The chair that is empty, the phone that will not ring with that number, the version of the future that had to be revised. And I will give you rest. The invitation does not say, come to me, and the grief will be lifted. It does not promise the resolution that grief counselors promise, or the closure that well-meaning people suggest is available. It says, come, and I will give you rest. Rest inside the grief. This is the thing that the Word of God does that nothing else can do. It does not require the grief to be over before the rest is available. It enters the grief and offers rest from within it. The weary, grieving person who comes to the Word in the night does not come to a place above the loss. They come to a presence inside it. Someone who is not trying to explain the loss or contextualize it or help them find the lesson in it. Someone who simply is there, in the grief, with them, gentle and lowly in heart. He described himself this way in this passage. The one speaking the invitation is not the overwhelming divine authority that would flatten the grief with his power. He is gentle. He is lowly. He came down into the human condition, into the mortality and the loss and the bodies that ache and the nights that are very long. and he speaks from inside it, not above it. The word of God in the life of the grieving person does something that happens slowly across many nights of returning to it. It holds the grief, not resolves it, holds it, gives it a container that is strong enough. The person who brings their grief to the word regularly, who lies down with it, who brings the specific loss to the specific invitation, who allows the presence of the one who is gentle and lowly to be present in the loss, finds over time that the weight of the grief does not crush differently than it did, but they are not crushed by it. Something is holding them inside, the grief that is stronger than the grief. Something that was not there before the word began its work. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, the burdened from grief. He has not forgotten you. He is in the grief with you right now, gentle, lowly, present. And the rest he gives tonight is the rest of not carrying it alone, of knowing that the loss is known, of lying down in the arms of someone who has been in the dark before and knows the way through. The third kind of weary is the most invisible, the exhaustion of the person who has been performing today. Not performing on a stage, performing the self. The maintenance of the public self that the world has come to expect. The management of how you appear. The confidence projected in meetings where you are not entirely certain. The patience held in conversations where patience was not what you felt. The capability demonstrated when the capability was running thin. The world requires this. The adult human life in almost any context requires the management of the gap between what you are and what the situation needs you to be. This is not dishonesty. It is the reasonable navigation of a world that cannot always receive everything you actually are at every moment. But it costs. The sustained performance of a self, even a self that is largely true, costs in ways that are difficult to account for at the end of a day. The tiredness of it is not the tiredness of the muscles. It is the tiredness of the will, of the part of you that has been holding the picture together all day, of the face that has been maintained. Come to me. He said this to people who had been performing their righteousness, who had been maintaining the appearance of faithfulness. The prayers said correctly, the tithes paid precisely, the external compliance with the law that was exhausting because the interior did not always match the exterior. He said it to people who were tired of the gap between who they were required to appear to be and who they actually were. The invitation does not require the performance to continue. It is, in fact, the specific ending of the performance. Come as you are. The Word of God does not receive the performed self. It receives the actual self. The self that has been hiding behind the capable face and the fine and the I'm doing okay. The self that is not always fine and is not always okay and is carrying things that the world does not get to see. That self is welcome. That is the self the invitation was addressed to. This is what the Word of God does in the life that returns to it regularly. It gradually reduces the gap, not by making the person more capable of performing, by making the interior more genuinely aligned with what the exterior is required to show. The person who brings their performed self to the Word in the night and lets the performance drop, who lies down in the dark and stops maintaining anything, who allows the actual self to be received by the one who sees it completely, finds over time that the interior is being formed, that the patience that was performed becomes real patience, that the confidence that was performed becomes real confidence grounded in something deeper than self-assurance, that the person they had to perform is slowly becoming the person they actually are. The word does this: in the night, in the returning, in the setting down of the performed self and the receiving of the actual one. You do not have to maintain anything here tonight, not for him, not in this room, not in this dark. He sees you completely, and the seeing is the invitation. Come, exactly as you are. The yoke of performance is not his yoke. His yoke fits the actual self, the one underneath the performed one, the one he made the yoke for. The fourth kind of weary is the most specifically addressed by this passage: the exhaustion of striving, of trying to be enough. Jesus spoke these words into a specific religious culture, the culture of first-century Judaism under the Pharisaic interpretation of the law, in which the requirements for righteous living had multiplied across centuries into an enormous, complex, all-encompassing system of obligations. 613 commandments, traditions built on the commandments, traditions built on the traditions. The fence around the law that was supposed to help people avoid violating the law, but that had become, for the ordinary person trying to live a faithful life, a crushing weight. He said, "The teachers of the law bind heavy burdens on men's shoulders," not the law itself, the interpretation of the law, the system that told ordinary people, you are not enough unless you do all of this correctly, unless you perform all of these requirements, unless you meet all of these standards, unless you are, in every detail of your daily life, precisely what God requires you to be. Come to me. The invitation was the most radical thing said in that religious culture in a generation. Not, come to the law and do it better. Not, come to the system and comply more fully. Come to me, the person, the one who made the yoke, the one who knew from the workshop in Nazareth what a well-fitted yoke felt like and what a poorly fitted one did to the animal that wore it. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Not, the requirements are small. Not, faithfulness is not demanding. The yoke is easy because it fits, because it was designed for the actual human person, for the person as they are, with the nature they have in the condition they are in, rather than for an ideal person who does not exist. This is what the Word of God does in the life of the person who receives it rightly. It replaces the ill-fitting yoke with the one that was made for them. The person who has been striving, who has been trying to earn the love, to accumulate enough faithfulness to reach the standard that will finally make them acceptable, receives from the Word the most disorienting and the most liberating truth available. The love is not earned. It was given before the striving began. The acceptance is not conditional on the performance. It was declared before any performance was possible. The striving was for something that was already theirs. Not, the faithfulness does not matter. The faithfulness matters enormously, but it is the response to the love already given, not the condition for receiving it. The difference is everything. The person who is faithful from the received love is wearing the fitted yoke. The person who is faithful to earn the love is wearing the one that chafes. The word, received regularly and believed, does this transformation slowly. The person who returns to the word in the night, who brings the striving, who brings the not enough feeling, who brings the exhaustion of trying to earn what has already been given, finds that the word speaks into the striving with the patient, persistent, completely reliable truth. You are already loved. The account is already settled. The love was given before you knew to ask for it. The striving can rest. Not forever. The work of the faithful life continues. But the striving that comes from fear, from the belief that the love is conditional, from the deep anxiety that the account might not balance, that striving can rest, because the word has done what the striving could never do. It has told you the truth about where you stand. Come to me, all you who are weary from the trying. The yoke you have been wearing was never mine. Mine fits. Take it and rest. The fifth kind of weary is the one that is hardest to bring to the word. The weariness of the long dark night of the soul. The person for whom tonight is not just a tired night, but one of the long ones. The person whose faith has been thin for a season. Not from rebellion, not from indifference, but from the simple, honest, deeply human experience of a period in which the word has not felt alive, in which the prayers have felt like speaking into emptiness, in which the promises have been held because they were once real, and the holding has been an act of will rather than an experience of presence. This is a real experience. It has a long history in the lives of the most faithful people who have ever lived. The Psalms are full of it, the crying out from the pit, the "Where are you, God?" the "My tears have been my food day and night." The mystics called it the dark night of the soul. The desert fathers knew it. Mother Teresa experienced it for decades. The woman whose face became the global symbol of faith lived for most of her ministry in an interior darkness that she described in the private letters only published after her death. You are not alone in the thin season. Come to me. The invitation does not require the faith to be strong before it is received. It requires the coming, the movement toward, the simple, exhausted, barely faithful act of lying down with the word and saying, "I do not feel what I once felt, and I do not know if it will return, and I am here anyway." That is enough. That is the come that the invitation is addressed to. The Word of God does something specific for the person in the long dark night. It is true, whether or not it is felt to be true. The rest that the Word offers is not contingent on the emotional experience of the rest. The promise is not, "Come to me and feel the warmth." The promise is, "I will give you rest." The giving does not depend on the feeling. The presence of the one who made the invitation does not depend on the person's awareness of the presence. He is present in the thin seasons the same way He is present in the full ones. The word carries this presence even when the person receiving it cannot feel it. And the person who keeps returning to the word in the thin season, who keeps lying down with it, who keeps bringing the doubt, who keeps holding the promise even when the promise feels hollow, finds something that cannot be manufactured and cannot be hurried. The season turns, not always when expected, not always in the way expected, but the word that was held in the thin season becomes the word that is felt in the full one. The holding itself was the formation, the keeping of the practice when the practice felt empty was the building of something that the feeling could not build, the deep, quiet, completely reliable faith that does not depend on the feeling because it was forged in the absence of it. The word does this. In the long nights, in the not feeling, in the coming anyway. Come to me, all you who are weary from the long dark. The not feeling is not the not being held. The thin faith is not the absent faith. The dark night is not the dark forever. He is gentle and lowly in heart. He is in the dark with you, right now, in this room. And the rest He gives tonight is the rest of the word being true, even when it cannot be felt, even now, even here, even in this. Rest more deeply now. Feel your body warm and heavy and completely given over, and let the 5 scenes come together. The weary from work, the body that spent itself today, the faithful giving that left nothing in reserve. The invitation does not require you to have something left. It requires only the coming. The rest is given. And the body that was spent is being restored. Right now, not by your effort, by His giving. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. The weary from grief, the loss that is still loss, the absence that is still present. The invitation enters the grief, not above it, not after it, in it. He is gentle and lowly in heart. He came into the human condition, into the mortality and the loss, and He speaks from inside it. The rest tonight is the rest of not carrying it alone. Take my yoke upon you, and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. The weary from performing, the face maintained all day, the gap between the presented self and the actual one. The invitation receives the actual self, not the performed version, the one underneath, the one He made the yoke for. You do not have to maintain anything here. He sees you completely, and the seeing is the invitation. The yoke of performance is not His yoke. His yoke fits the actual self, and you will find rest for your souls. The weary from striving, the trying to earn what has already been given, the exhaustion of performing faithfulness rather than receiving love. The word does what the striving could never do. It tells you the truth about where you stand, already loved, account already settled, the love given before the asking. The striving can rest, not forever. The work continues. But the fear-driven striving, the earning, the love striving, can rest. The yoke that was never designed for you is being replaced by the one that was. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. The weary from the long dark night, the thin faith, the not feeling, the coming anyway. The word is true whether or not it is felt to be true. The presence is real whether or not it is experience. The dark night is not the dark forever. He is in the dark with you. The rest tonight is the rest of the word being true even when it cannot be felt, even now, even here, even in the thin season that will become in time the full one. Come to me, all of them, all five, all at once. The work weary, and the grief weary, and the performing weary, and the striving weary, and the long, dark night weary, all called, all received, all given rest, by the one who made the yoke in the workshop in Nazareth, who knew from 30 years of working with wood what a well-fitted thing felt like, who made it for you, specifically, and who is saying right now, in this room, in this dark, in whatever form of weary you brought tonight, come, I will give you rest. Right now, somewhere, a person is receiving this passage for the first time, not reading it, receiving it. There is a difference. The difference between the word passing through the eyes and the word landing in the place it was aimed at. They have heard it before. They have read it in church bulletins and seen it on greeting cards and encountered it in the decorative script on the walls of Christian coffee shops. But tonight, in the dark, in the specific weariness of this specific day, it is landing differently. Come to me, all you who are weary. They realize they have been trying to come to the passage for years without coming to the person, treating the verse as a beautiful sentiment rather than a direct address, admiring it from a distance rather than walking toward it. And tonight, lying in the dark, the weariness too complete for any more managing, they come, not with the right attitude or the right faith or the right preparation. They come weary, which is exactly how the invitation was worded. Something releases, not the circumstances, the grip, the holding of the weight that they had not realized they were holding alone. Something that has been tightly held for a very long time releases, and in the releasing, rest arrives. Not the absence of difficulty, the presence of something that holds the difficulty with them. This is what the word does when it is received rather than merely read. Somewhere else, a person who has been returning to this passage for years is receiving it differently tonight than they did last week, because something happened this week that changed the context, a diagnosis, a conversation that did not go the way it needed to go, a fear that has become more concrete than it was, and the passage they have returned to 100 times is being received through the new context, and it is holding. The word that held last year is holding now. The word that held in the less difficult season is holding in the more difficult one. This is what the regular returning to the word builds, not immunity from difficulty, the capacity to be held inside it. The person who has been coming to this passage regularly, who has lain down with it in the ordinary weeks and the difficult ones, who has brought the work weariness and the grief and the performing and the striving and the long dark nights, has been formed by the returning. The word has been doing something in the repeated receiving of it that a single encounter could not do. The root has gone deeper. When the storm comes, and it has come this week, the tree holds. Not because the storm is smaller, because the root is deeper, because the word has been doing its work in the ordinary nights, preparing the person for the extraordinary ones. Somewhere else, a child is asleep, 7 years old, in a bedroom with a nightlight. They do not know this passage. They have not heard it yet, but someone who loves them has been returning to it. In the nights when the child is asleep and the house is quiet and the weight of the parenting and the worry and the love that is also fear settles fully for the first time all day. Come to me, all you who are weary. And the parent who returns to the word in the night is being formed, not instantly, over the returning, into the kind of person who carries the weight of the love differently than they would carry it without the word, who brings the fear to the one who holds the child better than any parent can hold them, who sets down, not once but regularly, in the practice of the nightly returning, the part of the burden that belongs to God rather than to them, and the child sleeps, unaware of what the word is doing in the room where someone who loves them is learning, night by night, to carry the love without being crushed by it. The word works in the receiving, in the returning, in the lying down with it, in you, tonight, right now. And now, let everything grow very still. The word has been spoken. The 5 wearinesses have been received. The invitation has been given from every direction, and the rest that was promised is here, not coming. Here, you are in your own room, your own bed, your own dark, and your body is very, very heavy, and the burden is lighter than it was when this began. Not because the circumstances changed, because the yoke changed, because the word did what the word does when it is received. It took the ill-fitting thing and replaced it with the one that was made for you. Slowly, quietly, in the lying down, in the dark, without announcement or drama or the feeling of something changing. Simply the gradual realization that what you are carrying feels different than it did. Let the workshop be with you tonight, the olive wood and the sawdust, and the young carpenter planing the inner surface of a yoke with his hands, feeling the grain, checking the curve, knowing from 30 years of making things what a well-fitted thing feels like. He made it for you. Your specific weight, your specific nature, your specific way of carrying what you carry, the yoke, fits. Let the work weariness be held. The body that spent itself today is being restored right now, not by your effort, by His giving. The muscles releasing, the tension dissolving, the specific, honorable tiredness of a person who worked being received by the one who values the worker. You awake with more capacity than you went to sleep with, not because sleep restored you, because rest was given. Let the grief be held. Whatever loss is in this room tonight, the one who is gentle and lowly in heart is in the loss with you, not above it, in it, present. The rest tonight is the rest of not carrying it alone. The loss has not changed, the carrying has. Someone is holding the other side of it. Let the performance end. The face that was held all day is at rest. The actual self, the one underneath the capable and the fine, is the one being received right now. He sees it completely, and the seeing is the invitation, not the performed version, the real one. Welcome. Let the striving rest. The love is not earned. It was given before the striving began. The account is settled. You are already standing in the love, have always been standing in it, and the striving that came from not knowing this can rest. Not forever. The faithful life continues. But tonight, the fear-driven, never enough, trying to earn its striving, can set down its yoke and take up the one that fits. Let the long dark be held. The thin faith is not the absent faith. The not feeling is not the not being held. The word is true in the dark season the same way it is true in the full one. He is in this room, in this dark, in the thin and the uncertain and the coming anyway. The rest tonight is the rest of the word being true, whether or not it is felt. And it is true. And it is holding you, right now. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls.